Ruled Russia for over 2 decades, first as prime minister and then as president. His rise was swift, from a KGB officer to the president's inner circle. Putin inherited a Russia weakened by the collapse of the Soviet Union. He vowed to restore its strength and prestige. His rule has been marked by a consolidation of power, a crackdown on dissent, and a resurgence of Russian nationalism. Putin's background in the KGB instilled in him a deep distrust of the West. He saw NATO's expansion eastward as a direct threat to Russia's security. Putin's worldview is shaped by a belief in a zero-sum game, where one nation's gain is another's loss. He has consistently sought to undermine the West and its institutions. Putin's goal is clear: to restore Russia to its former glory as a global superpower. Putin's vision for Russia is rooted in its imperial past. He yearns for the days when Russia was a feared and respected empire. He sees himself as a modern-day czar, destined to restore Russia to its rightful place on the world stage. Putin's ambition extends beyond Russia's borders. He aims to reassert Russian dominance over its near abroad, the former Soviet republics that he believes rightfully belong within Moscow's sphere of influence. This ambition is fueled by a potent mix of nationalism and resentment. Putin has skillfully manipulated historical grievances and national pride to rally support for his agenda. He presents himself as the protector of the Russian people, standing against a hostile and decadent West. This narrative has resonated deeply within Russia, where many feel a sense of humiliation at the loss of their country's superpower status. Putin's Russia operates in the shadows, employing a potent blend of conventional and unconventional tactics. This is hybrid warfare, a strategy designed to achieve political objectives without resorting to full-scale war. It is a dangerous game of smoke and mirrors, where the lines between war and peace are deliberately blurred. One of the key elements of hybrid warfare is the use of disinformation and propaganda. Russia has invested heavily in its propaganda machine, using state-controlled media outlets to spread false narratives and sow discord among its adversaries. Social media has become a breeding ground for fake news and bot accounts, amplifying pro-Kremlin narratives and manipulating public opinion. Cyberattacks are another weapon in Putin's arsenal, used to disrupt critical infrastructure and sow chaos. Russia has been linked to numerous cyberattacks targeting Western governments, financial institutions, and elections. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 was a watershed moment. It was a brazen act of aggression, carried out under the flimsy pretext of protecting ethnic Russians living in Ukraine. Russian troops, disguised as little green men, seized control of key infrastructure and military bases in Crimea. A sham referendum was held, its results preordained, to legitimize the annexation. The West condemned the annexation as a violation of international law, but its response was largely symbolic. Sanctions were imposed, but they failed to deter Putin. He had tasted victory and was emboldened. Crimea served as a blueprint for Putin's future actions. It demonstrated his willingness to use force to achieve his objectives and his disregard for international norms. Ukraine has become the crucible of Putin's hybrid warfare. Since 2014, Russia has been waging a low-intensity conflict in eastern Ukraine, backing separatist forces with weapons, training, and logistical support. The conflict has claimed the lives of thousands of people and displaced millions more. Russia's goal in Ukraine is twofold: to prevent its neighbor from aligning with the West and to destabilize the country, keeping it weak and dependent on Moscow. The full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 marked a significant escalation of the conflict. Putin's decision to launch a full-fledged war, despite the risk of severe international backlash, shocked the world. It was a clear demonstration of his ruthlessness and his determination to achieve his objectives, no matter the cost. The 21st century has witnessed the emergence of a new battlefield cyberspace. Russia has become a master of cyber warfare, using digital tools to disrupt, manipulate, and sow discord. Russian hackers have targeted governments, businesses, and individuals around the world, stealing sensitive information, disrupting critical infrastructure, and spreading disinformation. Disinformation has become a cornerstone of Russia's hybrid warfare strategy. The goal is to undermine trust in democratic institutions, sow discord within societies, and advance Russia's geopolitical interests. Social media platforms have become fertile ground for Russian disinformation campaigns. Trolls and bots spread fake news, amplify divisive content, and manipulate online discourse. The lines between truth and falsehood are deliberately blurred, creating a climate of confusion and distrust. On Russia. Section 8. Sowing discord, meddling in Western elections. Russia, under Putin's leadership, has shown a clear interest in influencing elections in democratic countries. The goal is not necessarily to install a preferred candidate, but to sow discord, undermine public trust in democratic processes, and weaken Western democracies from within. Russia's interference efforts have taken various forms, including hacking into political parties' computer systems, spreading disinformation and propaganda through social media, and providing covert financial support to political campaigns. The United States has been a particular target of Russia's election interference activities. While there is no evidence that Russia's interference has directly altered the outcome of any U.S. election, its actions have undoubtedly had a corrosive effect on American democracy. The constant stream of disinformation and propaganda has fueled political polarization, eroded trust in institutions, and made it more difficult to have rational discussions about important issues. Section 9. The West responds: sanctions and a new Cold War. The West has struggled to find an effective response to Putin's aggression. Sanctions have been imposed, targeting Russia's economy and its elites, but their impact has been limited. Putin has shown himself willing to weather the economic storm, believing that Russia can withstand the pressure. NATO has bolstered its military presence in Eastern Europe, seeking to deter further Russian aggression. However, the alliance has been careful to avoid direct military confrontation with Russia, fearing a wider conflict. The relationship between Russia and the West has deteriorated to its lowest point since the Cold War. Dialogue has broken down, replaced by suspicion and hostility. The world is once again divided into two camps, each viewing the other with deep distrust. The consequences of this new Cold War are far-reaching, impacting global security, trade, and cooperation on pressing issues such as climate change. Section 10. A world on edge. The global implications of Putin's gambit. Putin's actions have far-reaching consequences for the international order. His willingness to use military force to achieve his goals, his disregard for international law, and his embrace of hybrid warfare tactics have created a more dangerous and unpredictable world. The war in Ukraine has shaken the foundations of the post-Cold War order, raising questions about the future of Europe's security architecture and the role of international institutions. Putin's actions have emboldened other authoritarian leaders, who see in his success a validation of their own illiberal tendencies. The rise of China as a global power further complicates the geopolitical landscape. China and Russia have forged a closer partnership in recent years, united by their shared distrust of the West and their desire for a multipolar world order. This burgeoning alliance has the potential to reshape the global balance of power, creating new challenges for the United States and its allies. Section 11. The Future of the World Order. A Call for Unity and Resolve. The world stands at a crossroads. The rules-based international order, painstakingly built after World War II, is under threat. Putin's actions in Ukraine have exposed the fragility of peace and the dangers of complacency. The future of the world order hinges on the choices we make today. The West must stand united in the face of Russian aggression. Weakness or division will only embolden Putin and encourage further aggression. We need to strengthen our alliances, bolster our defenses, and counter Russia's disinformation campaigns. But confrontation alone will not suffice. We also need to engage in dialogue with Russia, seeking to reduce tensions and find common ground where possible. Ultimately, a more stable and secure world requires a return to diplomacy, respect for international law, and a commitment to resolving